Hi, it's Chris Croft here from successfultrainers.com, and I want to talk to you about cars today. Because training does involve a certain amount of travel, unless you're doing it all over Zoom, and you'll need some sort of decent, reliable car that you can claim as a cost. And the big thing to know is hire it. You want to do contract hire or some sort of rental type process. Ideally a process where at the end you don't own the car. You just hire it for 3 years and then it goes back and you get another one. Now, whether you hire it or your company hires it is something you'll have to think about. That's a detail. But I want to say hire it, don't buy it. For a start, if you buy a car, I think you can only claim the first 12,000 against tax. So if you're buying a car that's 30 grand's worth, most of that you won't be able to claim as a cost. It works out much better financially if you're hiring it. And one of the weird things is that nice cars are cheaper to hire than down market cars. And this is because if you go for a fairly cheap brand of car, then this is time and this is the value of the car. And it loses most of its value in the first year or two. So when you hand it back in here, you've lost all that value on the car, and that's what you have to pay for. So if you buy something posh like a Mercedes or a BMW or something like that, it holds its value much better over time. So then what happens is that when you trade it in after 3 years, you're only paying this much, because they get a car back that's still pretty valuable. So it actually works out cheaper for you to drive around for 3 years in a really nice car. And you get a new one every 3 years. So you're driving a relatively new car all the time, which is fantastic. So one of the big benefits of that is it'll be reliable. And quite often servicing is included in all this anyway. So that's all covered. You don't even have the cost of buying tyres if you get it right. And reliability is really, really important, because if you're going to go and see 20 people and talk to them all day for £1,000, you'd better be there, and you can't afford to be late. So reliability is absolutely key, and that's another reason why you want to be hiring a relatively new car. Now, the cost depends hugely on the amount of mileage that you do. So sometimes you'll see adverts and it'll say, drive the BMW 5 Series for only £100 a month. And you think, oh, that looks good. But it's because they're only doing 5,000 miles a month. So if you double the amount of mileage from, let's say, 10,000 to 20,000, you pretty much exactly double the cost of hiring the car. So if anybody tells you they've got an amazing bargain on their car, just find out how many miles a year they're doing. And that will almost certainly explain it. You absolutely must get a price for the mileage that you're going to do. So you get to drive a completely new car, a relatively new car, for 3 years, and then trade it in and just get another one. And it's fantastic. And you don't have a care in the world, because if it breaks down, it's not your car. They can fix it, especially if maintenance is included, but quite often they're guaranteed anyway. There's no MOT for the first 3 years. It's fantastic. There's only really a couple of snags. One is it is a certain amount of commitment, because you have to have that car for 3 years. So if for some reason you stop working, you're still paying for the car every month, and that might be, say, £500 a month that you're having to pay. Sounds like a lot, doesn't it? 500 a month, 5,000 a year. But a lot of cars are going to depreciate by 5,000 a year anyway. And remember that you don't have to put the capital in. So if you're going to buy a car for, let's say, 20 grand, you've got to find 20 grand. And that 20 grand that you pay up front if you're buying a car could have been in your bank. So if it was earning, let's say, 10% of 20 grand would be 2 grand. So 5% would be £1,000 a year. So you're paying an extra £1,000 a year in just lost interest if you buy the car up front compared to hiring it. So if you do the sums, you'll find that hiring works really well. You're driving a lovely new car, it's reliable, but it is a commitment. You are now committed to that car for 3 years and you have to pay it. The other little annoyance is at the end, you will have to pay some money for dents and wheel scuffs. You're bound to scuff your wheels trying to park in some multi-story in London or something like that. And there will be some dents in the side of your car which are not your fault. There are other people opening their doors and banging into the side of yours. They can't be your fault if they're in the side of your door, can they? But nevertheless, you have to pay. So usually you have to pay £200 or £300 or something like that when you give the car back. It's annoying, but it's just part of how it all works. That's just part of the process of hiring a car. And it's nothing really in the big scheme of things. So there's a commitment, there's dents to be paid for, but apart from that, hiring is absolutely the best way to go. So that's a bit of information about cars, just a little detail of life, but worth knowing. It's one of the many, many things we cover on the Successful Trainers program. And if you're interested in knowing more about how to be a trainer, what's involved, is it the right career for you, give me a call. Just go to successfultrainers.com, book an appointment to talk to me over the phone. And I would love that. It'd be great. Maybe I can help you to become a successful freelance trainer.